Have you ever felt like this? One small comment, not even that serious, but it stays in your mind all day. Maybe it was something someone said, a look that didn't feel right, or even something simple, like being ignored. And then your mind starts going, why did they do that? Did I do something wrong? Do they not respect me? You don't say anything. But inside, something changes. Your mood drops. You can't focus. Even simple things start to feel heavy, and the strange part is, they've probably already forgotten about it. But you're still carrying it. I used to be like that. I thought people could make me upset, make me lose control, make me feel bad. I believed my emotions depended on how others treated me, until one day I realized something that completely changed. How I see everything. No one is actually controlling my emotions. Not their words, not their actions. It's how I respond to them. And once I saw that, everything started to change. I began to notice something I had never seen before, between what happens and how I react. There is always a small space, and in that space is where my power is. And if you can learn to control that moment, you don't just control your emotions, you start to take control of your life. And that's when I started to see things differently. Before, every time something happened, I reacted instantly. No pause, no thinking, just a reaction. But now, I began to observe. I realized something important. Emotions don't come out of nowhere. There's always something in between. That something is your thoughts. When someone says something rude, the first thing that shows up is not anger. It's a thought. They shouldn't have said that, and that thought creates the emotion. Once I understood this, everything started to shift. I didn't try to suppress my feelings anymore. I just slowed down, just enough to notice. What am I thinking right now? How am I interpreting this? And sometimes, just changing the way I see it changes how I feel. The same situation, but a different meaning. And when the meaning changes, the emotion loses its power over me. I used to believe that if I treated people well, they would treat me the same way. I helped when they needed me. I listened when they were struggling. I tried to be a good person. But when I needed them, they weren't there. No reply. No support. Just silence. And that silence hurt. I kept asking myself, why would they do this? I would never treat them this way. But then I realized something simple. I was expecting them to be like me. And that was the mistake. People don't think like you. They don't act like you. They don't care the same way you do. Everyone lives in their own world. Once I stopped expecting people to meet my standards, I stopped feeling disappointed. I can still be kind. I can still care, but I don't expect anything in return anymore. And that gave me peace. There was a time when I always felt like I had to be right. In every argument, I wanted to prove my point. I thought if I was right, I would feel better. But it never worked that way. Even when I won, I still felt drained. The tension stayed. The relationship felt worse. And I started asking myself, what am I really trying to prove? That's when I realized something uncomfortable. It wasn't about being right. It was about my ego. I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to look weak, so I held on and fought back. But the more I did that, the more peace I lost. Then I tried something different. I stopped reacting right away. I listened instead, not to win, but to understand. And when I let go of the need to always be right, everything felt lighter. Because not every argument is worth winning. I used to let other people's words define my worth. One compliment could make me feel confident. One negative comment could make me doubt myself. Just one sentence, and I started questioning who I was. But then I realized something important. They don't know my full story. They don't live my life. So why was I letting them define me? I started to separate things. That's their opinion, not my truth. If it helps me grow, I keep it. If not, I let it go. I stopped looking for validation from others. I started trusting what I know about myself. And when I became clear about who I am, no one's words could shake me anymore. I started to notice something interesting. The strongest person in the room is not the one who talks the most. It's the one who stays calm. When others get emotional, they stay steady. When others lose control, they stay grounded. At first, I thought that meant holding things in, but it's not. It's a choice. They choose not to get pulled into the chaos. They don't need to react. They don't need to prove anything. They just stay calm. So I started practicing the same thing. When I feel triggered, I don't react right away. I pause and watch the feeling, and I realized something powerful. Being calm is not weakness. It's control, and not everyone has it. I didn't realize it at first, but I was living based on other people's reactions. Someone says something rude. I feel upset. Someone ignores me. I start overthinking. It felt normal. But looking back, I was just reacting. Like a pattern. They act, I react. They change, I feel it. And in that cycle, I wasn't really in control. Until I understood something. Every time I react instantly, I give them control over how I feel. I let them decide my mood. And that didn't feel right anymore. So I started slowing down. Not to suppress my feelings, but to choose my response. To decide how I want to show up. And little by little, I stopped being controlled by what others do. I started taking my control back. I used to think emotions were something I had to control. But the more I tried to control them, the more exhausted I felt. Then I realized something simple. Emotions are not the problem. They are just signals. They show you what's happening inside you. The real problem is, I believed them too quickly. I treated every feeling like it was the truth, but it's not. It's just a reaction, and it doesn't last. When I stopped trusting every emotion right away, I created space between me and how I feel. And in that space, I found control. I wasn't reacting instantly anymore. I was choosing, and that changed everything. The change didn't happen overnight. There was no big moment, no sudden transformation. It was small things. I paused before reacting. I didn't reply when I was angry. I chose silence instead of arguing. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but the more I practiced, the more I noticed something. Every time I didn't react the old way, I was becoming a different person, a calmer version of myself, a clearer version, a stronger one. I realized change doesn't come from one big decision. It comes from small choices, repeated every day. And over time, those small choices become who you are. One day, I noticed something different. Things that used to bother me just didn't hit the same anymore. It wasn't because life got easier. It wasn't because people changed. People were still the same. Situations were still unpredictable. But I wasn't reacting the same way. I didn't get triggered as easily. I didn't feel the need to prove anything. I didn't carry things in my mind all day. And that's when I understood something. Freedom is not about controlling the world. It's about not being controlled by it. When you stop reacting the old way, the outside world loses its power over you. You don't have to escape life. You just stand steady in it, calm, unshaken. And for the first time, I felt truly free. I used to feel like I had to win. In every argument, every disagreement, I wanted to prove I was right. I thought winning would make me feel better, but it didn't. Every time I tried to win, I lost something else. My energy, my time, sometimes even my relationships. Then I started asking myself one simple question: is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer was no. So I began to let things go. Not because I was wrong, but because I didn't need to win. I stopped reacting to everything. I stopped arguing over small things. And when I stopped trying to prove myself, I felt lighter. Because sometimes, it's not about being right. It's about staying at peace. I used to think reacting made me strong. If someone said something disrespectful, I had to respond. If someone challenged me, I had to push back. But the more I reacted, the more I lost control. My emotions weren't mine anymore. They depended on what other people did. Then I tried something different. I didn't react right away, not because I had nothing to say, but because I chose not to let my emotions take over. At first, it felt hard. Part of me wanted to argue, to prove a point, to win, but I stayed still, and I realized something powerful. Not reacting is not weakness. It's control. When you don't react, you don't get pulled into other people's drama. You don't give them power over you. And in that silence, you don't lose. You protect something more important, your peace. At some point, I started to see something clearly. I wasn't really being bothered by others. I was bothering myself. Every time something small happened, I made it bigger in my mind. I added meaning. I created stories. I imagined things that weren't even real. And those thoughts made my emotions heavier. When I realized this, something changed. I stopped believing every thought right away. I began to ask myself, is this really that serious? Or am I making it worse in my head? And many times, the answer surprised me. It wasn't as bad as I thought. When I stopped exaggerating things, my emotions became calmer. And I learned something important: not every thought is true. And when you stop believing everything in your mind, you start gaining control over it. I didn't change my life overnight. Everything around me stayed the same. Work was still stressful. People still had their moments. Things still didn't go my way sometimes. But something inside me changed. The way I experienced everything became lighter. I stopped carrying every small thing in my head. I stopped overthinking every situation. I stopped letting one bad moment ruin my whole day. I started letting go of expectations, letting go of instant reactions, letting go of thoughts that didn't serve me. And the strange part is, I didn't lose anything. I actually gained more clarity, more calm, more peace. Life didn't get easier, but I became lighter. And sometimes, that's what truly matters. After everything I went through, I realized something simple but powerful. No one can take away my peace. Not because they don't try, but because I don't give them that power anymore. I used to think I had to control everything. Control people. Control situation. But that's impossible. The only thing I truly control is how I respond. And when I focused on that, life stopped feeling like a battle. It became a journey where I don't have to win anything. I just have to stay grounded. Because in the end, real strength is not about controlling the world. It's about not losing yourself in it. And when you reach that point, it's not just peace. It's freedom. If you've made it this far, then maybe you've started to see it too. It's not life that makes you feel overwhelmed. It's not people who control how you feel. It's how you react to everything around you. You're not weak for feeling emotions. You're only stuck when you don't know how to respond to them. And the good news is, this can change. You don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to become perfect overnight. Just start with one simple step. Pause before you react. That small moment can change everything. Over time, you'll notice something different. You don't get triggered as easily. You don't carry things all day. You stay steady. And this is only the beginning. If you want to go deeper, learn how to control your mind, protect your energy, and build a mindset that nothing can shake. Comment 1. I'll continue.